Listen, I need y'all to hear me on this. Too many people out here are wasting time worried about what everybody else is doing. You scrolling through social media, checking who's winning, who's traveling, who's buying this and that. And meanwhile, what are you doing? You sitting there watching somebody else live their life instead of getting up and making yours better. Let me tell you something. Focus on yourself. Stop announcing every move before you make it. Stop looking for validation. Stop waiting on people to clap for you before you even take the first step. Everybody don't need to know what you got planned. Everybody don't need access to your dreams. You over here telling small-minded people big ideas and then wondering why you feel discouraged. Too many people waste valuable time waiting for approval before they take action on their dreams. They hesitate, holding back their potential because they're worried about what other people might think. They want reassurance. They want someone to tell them they're on the right path. But the truth is, if you keep waiting for validation, you'll never move. You'll stay stuck, looking around for a sign instead of creating your own. Validation is a trap. It tricks you into thinking that your success depends on how others perceive you. It makes you believe that if people don't approve of your goals, then maybe they aren't worth pursuing. But let me tell you something. Your dreams don't need a permission slip. You don't need a round of applause before you even get started. Some of the most successful people in the world didn't have a crowd cheering for them in the beginning. They didn't wait for someone to tell them, yeah, go ahead, that's a great idea. They moved forward because they believed in themselves even when nobody else did. The problem is people have become addicted to outside opinions. You post your plans on social media, waiting for likes and comments to confirm that you're doing something right. You ask your friends, your family, sometimes even complete strangers, what they think about your goals. And if they don't seem excited, you start doubting yourself. You start questioning if you're good enough, if you're smart enough, if you're capable. And before you know it, you talk yourself out of something that was meant for you, all because somebody else couldn't see the vision. But here's the thing, it's not their vision, it's yours. Not everyone will understand your journey. Not everyone will see the potential you have. Some people will doubt you simply because they can't imagine themselves doing what you're trying to do. Others will project their own fears onto you. They'll tell you it's too risky, that it's too hard, that most people fail. And if you're not careful, you'll let their fears become your fears. You'll start hesitating, questioning whether you should take the leap. But you have to understand that their doubts have nothing to do with you. Their opinion does not determine your success. Some of the most powerful moves you will ever make in life will be the ones you make alone. When you stop looking for approval, you free yourself. You stop operating based on what makes sense to other people and start doing what makes sense for you. You stop worrying about whether or not people will support you because you realize that their support isn't required for you to succeed. The only approval that truly matters is your own. Think about it. How many times have you wanted to do something but hesitated because you were afraid of how people would react? How many opportunities have you let pass you by because you were too concerned about what others might say? How much time have you wasted waiting for someone to tell you that you're making the right decision? All that time you spent looking for validation could have been spent building, growing, and making progress toward your goals. Success does not come from asking for permission. It comes from taking action, even when nobody believes in you. It comes from trusting yourself enough to move forward, even when you feel uncertain. It comes from shutting out the noise, ignoring the doubters, and doing what you know in your heart you're meant to do. The moment you stop waiting for validation is the moment you take control of your own destiny. Because at the end of the day, the only person who truly needs to believe in you is you. One of the biggest mistakes people make is talking too much about what they're going to do instead of just doing it. They announce every move before they even take the first step. They tell friends, family, coworkers, and sometimes even strangers about their goals, their plans, their ideas. They do it because they want encouragement, support, maybe even recognition before they've accomplished anything. But what they don't realize is that talking too much can kill momentum before it even begins. The more you talk, the more opinions you invite. And not every opinion is good for you. The moment you start sharing your plans, people will start giving you advice you didn't ask for. Some will doubt you. Some will tell you why it won't work. Some will project their own fears onto you. And before you know it, you're second guessing yourself. You're hesitating. You're spending more time explaining yourself than actually making moves. You let outside voices interfere with your vision, and suddenly what once felt like a great idea now seems impossible. Silence is powerful. When you move in silence, you protect your energy. You keep your focus sharp. You don't waste time defending your dreams or convincing people to believe in you. Instead of talking, you're doing. Instead of explaining, you're executing. And that's the difference between people who succeed and people who stay stuck. Successful people let their results do the talking. Another reason to stay silent is that not everyone watching you wants to see you win. Some people smile in your face but secretly hope you fail. Some people pretend to support you but get uncomfortable when you start elevating. They see your progress as a reminder of what they're not doing. And instead of clapping for you, they look for ways to plant doubt in your mind. They'll say things like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" Or, "That seems risky." They'll act concerned, but what they're really doing is trying to slow you down. When you move in silence, you take away their power. You don't give them the chance to discourage you because they don't know what you're up to. You don't give them room to interfere because by the time they find out what you've been working on, it's already done. And that's the best way to move. Quietly, consistently, and without unnecessary distractions. People often confuse movement with progress. Just because you're talking about something doesn't mean you're making progress. Real progress happens when you take action, not when you talk about taking action. There's a reason why the most successful people in the world don't announce their next move. They just make it. They don't waste time explaining themselves to people who don't matter. They don't feel the need to prove anything before the work is done. They just put their head down and do the work. Another thing to remember is that unfinished plans are fragile. When an idea is still in its early stages, it's vulnerable. It hasn't had time to develop, to strengthen, to take shape. And if you expose it too soon, it can be easily crushed. It can be torn apart by doubt, negativity, and unnecessary opinions. That's why you have to protect it. You have to nurture it in silence. You have to give it time to grow before you expose it to the world. There's also a psychological advantage to moving in silence. When people don't know what you're working on, they can't prepare for your success. They can't block what they don't see coming. They can't interfere with what they don't know exists. You create an element of surprise. By the time they realize what you've done, it's too late for them to stop it. You've already built the foundation, made the progress, and positioned yourself for success. The reality is, talking about your goals can sometimes give you a false sense of accomplishment. You feel like you're doing something just because you're discussing it. But discussing it and doing it are two different things. One moves you forward, the other just makes you feel like you're moving. The more you talk, the more you trick yourself into thinking you're making progress when in reality, you're just standing still. Silence isn't about secrecy, it's about focus. It's about protecting your vision from distractions, negativity, and unnecessary interference. It's about putting in the work without feeling the need to prove yourself to anyone. It's about moving with intention, discipline, and determination. The less you talk, the more energy you have to put into actually making things happen. And when the results start to show, you won't have to say a word because success speaks for itself. Too many people lose their way because they're too busy watching what everybody else is doing. They spend hours scrolling through social media, comparing their progress to someone else's. They see people buying houses, starting businesses, traveling the world, and they start feeling like they're behind. They start doubting themselves, thinking they're not doing enough, not moving fast enough, not successful enough. But the problem isn't their progress, it's their focus. They're looking in the wrong direction. When you focus on your own path, you stop worrying about what everybody else has going on. You stop measuring your success based on someone else's timeline. You understand that your journey is yours alone, and that means it won't look like anybody else's. Some people might get there faster, some might take longer, some might take a completely different route, but none of that matters because what's for you is for you. Comparison is dangerous because it makes you question yourself for no reason. You could be making real progress, taking real steps toward your goals, but the moment you see someone else doing more, you start feeling like you're behind. You forget how far you've come because you're too busy looking at where somebody else is. And the truth is, half the time, you don't even know what's really going on behind the scenes. People only show the highlight reel. They post the wins, not the struggles. They show the success, not the setbacks. And here you are comparing your real life to somebody else's edited version. When you focus on your own path, you stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. You stop feeling the need to compete with people who aren't even in your race. You stop chasing things just because other people have them, and you start chasing what actually matters to you. Just because someone else is doing something doesn't mean it's right for you. Just because they're moving in one direction doesn't mean that's the direction you need to go. The only way to truly succeed is to stay locked in on what you're supposed to be doing. One of the biggest mistakes people make is constantly switching lanes. They see someone else winning in a certain field, so they drop everything and chase that. Then they see someone else doing something different and they jump to that. They keep chasing trends, keep following what's popular, keep switching directions based on what looks successful at the moment. But when you're always changing lanes, you never build momentum. You never stay in one place long enough to master it. You never get deep enough into your own journey to see real results. Success comes from consistency. It comes from staying committed to your own path, even when it looks like other people are ahead, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Even when you start questioning if you made the right choice. The truth is, success takes time, growth takes time, but if you keep planting seeds and keep watering them, eventually they will grow. The problem is, most people quit. They get impatient, they get discouraged, and they start looking at other people's gardens instead of tending to their own. The only way to win is to stay locked in. You have to trust that if you keep working, keep learning, and keep showing up, your time will come. You have to remind yourself that just because you don't see results yet doesn't mean you're not making progress. Just because someone else got there first doesn't mean you're failing. The only thing that matters is that you're moving forward. When you focus on your own path, you also learn to enjoy the process. You stop rushing to the finish line. You stop feeling like you have to prove something to anyone. You start appreciating the small wins, the lessons, the experiences along the way. You start realizing that success isn't just about the destination, it's about who you become in the process. And if you keep your eyes on your own journey, you'll get exactly where you're meant to be. People are going to doubt you no matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you're starting a business, chasing a dream, or just trying to improve your life. Somebody is always going to have something to say. They'll question your decisions, make comments about your progress, and act like they know what's best for you. The mistake most people make is letting those voices get in their head. They start second-guessing themselves, hesitating, wondering if maybe the doubters are right. And before they know it, they've lost confidence in themselves. Doubt is one of the biggest obstacles to success. But here's the truth. Doubt only has power if you give it power. Just because someone doesn't believe in you doesn't mean you're not capable. Just because they can't see the vision doesn't mean the vision isn't real. Most people who doubt you aren't doing it because they've analyzed your potential and determined that you can't make it. They're doing it because of their own limitations, their own fears, and their own failures. They're looking at your dream through the lens of what they think is possible, and that lens is clouded by their own insecurities. You can't let people project their fears onto you. Just because they don't think it's possible doesn't mean it's impossible. Just because they failed at something similar doesn't mean you will fail. What worked or didn't work for them has nothing to do with you. Everybody's path is different, everybody's circumstances are different, and everybody's mindset is different. You might be willing to do the work that they weren't willing to do. You might have the persistence they didn't have. You might have the vision that they never saw. And that alone can change everything. Some people doubt you because they don't want to see you succeed. They've gotten comfortable with where you are. And the idea of you leveling up makes them uncomfortable. If you grow, it forces them to reflect on why they're not growing. If you succeed, it reminds them that they haven't put in the effort to do the same. And instead of using that as motivation, they'd rather try to keep you where you are. They'll downplay your dreams, make little negative comments, and try to get inside your head, not because you can't do it, but because they don't want you to prove that you can. The best way to handle doubters is to ignore them. Don't waste your time trying to convince them. Don't argue, don't explain, don't try to prove your point. The more you engage, the more energy you waste. And that's energy that should be going toward your goals. Let them doubt, let them talk, let them assume you won't make it. Your job is not to debate with them. Your job is to focus, grind, and execute. Doubt is part of the process. If nobody is doubting you, then your dream isn't big enough. If nobody is questioning you, then you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough. Every successful person has had doubters. Every person who ever accomplished something great had people telling them they couldn't do it. The difference between those who make it and those who don't is simple. Successful people don't let the doubt stop them. They don't take it personally. They don't let it discourage them. They use it as fuel. The most powerful thing you can do is let your results speak for themselves. Stay quiet, stay focused, and keep working. One day, the same people who doubted you will have no choice but to acknowledge what you've accomplished. But by then, you won't even care what they think. Because the moment you stop letting doubt affect you, you've already won. Most people spend their lives trying to prove other people wrong. They let doubt, criticism, and negativity push them forward. They think that if they can just succeed, if they can just reach a certain level, they'll finally get the respect they deserve. They want to show the people who doubted them that they were wrong. They want to make the ones who didn't believe in them regret it. But the problem with that mindset is that it puts all the power in the hands of other people. It makes success about them instead of making it about you. When you're constantly trying to prove people wrong, you're still letting them control you. You're letting their words, their doubts, and their opinions dictate your moves. And the truth is, even if you do succeed, even if you accomplish everything you set out to do, some of those same people still won't give you credit. They'll find another excuse. They'll say you got lucky. They'll downplay your hard work. They'll move the goalposts and act like what you've done still isn't enough. And if you let that get to you, you'll just keep chasing their approval, waiting for them to finally acknowledge you, waiting for them to finally say, I was wrong about you. But what happens when they never do? What happens when you realize you've been working so hard to impress people who were never going to support you in the first place? The moment you stop trying to prove people wrong and start proving yourself right, everything changes. Now you're not moving out of anger, frustration, or the need for revenge. You're moving because you believe in yourself. You're doing it because you know what you're capable of. You're grinding because you want to see how far you can go, how much you can grow, and how much you can accomplish. Not because you need validation from people who never saw your potential in the first place. When you focus on proving yourself right, you start measuring success differently. It's no longer about beating somebody else. It's no longer about making sure other people see what you've done. It's about looking in the mirror and knowing that you gave it everything you had. It's about knowing that you took the risks, put in the work, and stayed disciplined even when nobody was watching. It's about pushing yourself because you know you deserve better, not because you want someone else to acknowledge you. Some people waste years, even decades, chasing success just to prove a point. They let old grudges and past criticism push them forward, but they never stop to ask themselves what they really want. They never stop to think about what success actually looks like for them. And when they finally achieve something, they realize it doesn't even fulfill them because they weren't doing it for themselves in the first place. They were doing it for an audience that didn't even care. They were chasing an image, a title, or a level of success that wasn't even what they truly wanted. When you're focused on proving yourself right, you stop looking for external approval. You stop worrying about whether people recognize your progress. You stop letting other people's opinions dictate your self-worth. You start moving differently. You start setting goals that align with your own vision, not just what looks impressive to the outside world. You start celebrating your small wins instead of waiting for someone else to acknowledge them. You start appreciating the journey instead of rushing to the finish line just to prove a point. It takes a mindset shift to get to that level. It takes the ability to block out the noise and focus on what really matters. It takes letting go of the need to prove anything to anyone but yourself. The people who doubted you don't matter. The ones who didn't believe in you are not part of the equation. The only thing that matters is whether you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I did this for me. Discipline is the foundation of everything you want in life. It's not motivation, not talent, not luck. Discipline is what separates people who succeed from those who don't. The problem is, most people rely on motivation, and motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Some days you wake up feeling inspired, ready to take on the world, but other days you don't feel like doing anything. And if you only show up when you feel like it, you'll never reach your full potential. That's why discipline matters. It's about doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. Most people never achieve their goals because they wait until they feel ready. They tell themselves they'll start when the timing is right, when they have more energy, when they're in the mood. But successful people don't operate like that. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They don't sit around hoping they'll wake up one day feeling inspired. They understand that success isn't about feelings. It's about habits. It's about doing the work consistently, day in and day out, no matter how they feel. Discipline means showing up even when it's hard. It means waking up early when you'd rather sleep in. It means putting in extra hours when nobody's watching. It means sticking to your plan when distractions try to pull you away. It's easy to be disciplined when things are going well, but the real test is what you do when things get tough. Do you stay focused when life throws obstacles in your way? Do you keep pushing when you're tired, discouraged, or unsure of yourself? Do you keep going when progress is slow and the results aren't showing yet? That's what separates people who succeed from those who quit. The truth is, discipline is not about punishment, it's about freedom. When you're disciplined, you control your future, you control your choices. You don't let bad habits, distractions, or emotions dictate your life. You create the structure that leads to success. Without discipline, you become a slave to procrastination, laziness, and inconsistency. You start making excuses instead of making progress. You let opportunities slip away because you weren't willing to put in the effort when it mattered. People who master discipline don't need motivation. They don't need someone to push them. They push themselves. They've trained their mind to focus, to work, to stay committed. They don't rely on willpower alone because they know willpower fades. Instead, they build routines that set them up for success. They create systems that make discipline automatic. They eliminate distractions, set clear goals, and develop the habits that make success inevitable. One of the biggest myths about discipline is that it makes life harder. People think being disciplined means working all the time, sacrificing fun, or living a boring, rigid life. But in reality, discipline makes life easier. It removes the stress of last-minute work, missed opportunities, and wasted time. It gives you confidence because you know you're prepared. It gives you peace of mind because you know you're in control. It creates a sense of pride because you're becoming the person you said you would be. Discipline is built through small, consistent actions. It's not about making huge, drastic changes overnight. It's about starting with one simple commitment and sticking to it. Maybe it's waking up 30 minutes earlier. Maybe it's reading 10 pages a day. Maybe it's going to the gym 3 times a week. Whatever it is, the key is consistency. The more you do it, the stronger your discipline becomes. And once you master one habit, it becomes easier to add more. Over time, you become the kind of person who does what needs to be done no matter what. People who lack discipline struggle with regret. They look back and wish they had started earlier. They wish they had been more consistent. They wish they had put in the effort when they had the chance. But discipline prevents that. It allows you to look back with pride, knowing that you gave it everything you had. It ensures that you don't live with the pain of what if. It guarantees that when